Welcome, everyone. The LinkedIn and YouTube chats are open for live comments and questions. And our topic today, global elites are clueless about how to sustain life as we know it. And with us, Ronald Stein, and I recommend that you access his LinkedIn webpage and access his work. And it's a very intensive guy talking very good things about energy, oil products. And me, Armando Cavanha, here. And good evening, Ronald. It's a great pleasure.
Glad to be aboard.
This is the article that Ronald and Yoshihiro Muro Naka they wrote last week with this title, similar this title. And here I brought some quotes to remember that Ronald normally says, normally talk about, and I would read each one because it's so important for us. Ronald says, energy is for electricity, oil is for products. Second, solar and wind energy only produce electricity. Is it right? Please correct me, Ronald, if it's wrong.
You're 100% correct.
Solar and wind energy are intermittent and need support for other dispatchable energy sources such as natural gas or nuclear power. Crude oil has no direct use. I am in favor of products, not in favor of oil. 15% of refined oil generates 6,000 products that we use daily. I put some thoughts, my thoughts here, but I know that you think the same. 85% of refined oil sustains a large part of the world's logistics. Oil comes before electricity. Accelerated mining employs labor that sometimes exceeds acceptable human standards, and replacement of oil is not yet clear. Without oil, restricting fossil fuel is dangerous. Any comments, Dr. Ronald?
You're 100% correct. The thing about oil is it's useless. It's black tar. Unless you can build a multi-billion-dollar refinery and, they heat it, they beat it, and they crack it, they do all these crazy things to it. And from that, they get oil derivatives that makes all the products that's part of our materialistic society and various transportation fuels. Wind turbines, they only generate electricity. They can't make any products. Wind turbines can't make any transportation fuels for jets and ships, cars, trucks, or lubrication oil. And all the products that we use in hospitals, airports, medical equipment, communications, space programs, appliances, electronics, all the parts are made from fossil fuels. Wind turbines can't make anything.
Yeah,
A wind turbine can charge my iPhone, but it can't make any of the components to make the phone.
that's right.
And the people who want to go green, they're clueless. They think wind turbines can replace fossil fuels.
Yeah,
They do different things.
yeah.
And as
Ronald,
you mentioned in your opening paragraphs,
mhm.
electricity came after oil
So,
because we got six ways to generate electricity. We can do it by wind and solar and coal, natural gas, hydro, nuclear. But all the ways to generate electricity have the same components. They got wire and insulation, computers
yeah,
made from fossil fuels. Wind turbines can't make any of that stuff.
nothing. Yeah, Ronald, going one step further, even with these clear arguments, why does financial elite support banning fossil fuels?
That's a question. I don't know. Uh, I'm 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 100% in favor of getting rid of oil if there's a backup plan. Because as I mentioned, we really don't need oil. We need the products from oil. And is there another way to make the products? That's the question. And if you're saying wind turbines, no, that's not the answer because wind turbines can't make anything. So We have a materialistic society. We got a medical industry that didn't exist 200 years ago. All the transportation we have by jets and ships, just to make the jets and the ships, all the parts and components. When you're on a ship, when you're on a plane, try to identify one thing that was made by a wind turbine. It
No,
doesn't make anything.
yeah, no,
So, like you say, we're a product-driven society, and that is basically how life is as we know it. And the people living in poverty, we got 8 billion people on the planet, and 80% of them are living on less than $10 a day. They can't subsidize themselves out of a paper bag. They've really yet to join the Industrial Revolution. They would love to have water sanitation and filtered water and things we just take for granted. But yeah, like I say, they're living in poverty. So
yeah,
we've got to get them out of poverty. We should, instead of spending all the money on wind turbines, we probably should spend money in trying to develop
yeah,
the poverty people in the world, of which is more than 6 billion.
yeah. I know that the answer is questionable and difficult, but you believe that's more intentional from elites or more ignorance from them?
Yes, to both.
Uh,
And the reason being, they won't participate in the conversation. Like I say, Armando, I'm 100% in favor of getting rid of oil if there's a backup plan.
sure.
And their plan to go green with wind and solar electricity, of course, they call it wind and solar energy versus fossil fuel energy. But no, 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 no. They're different things. It's wind and solar electricity versus all the products and transportation fuels that we get from oil. Oh yeah, coal is used for generating electricity. Natural gas is used for generating electricity, but they want to get rid of all fossil fuels, including oil. And without oil, we're back to the 1800s.
Yeah, yeah. The
And if
dependence
you
is very
eliminate
high.
oil, you eliminate electricity,
Yeah, yeah. So you believe that electrical vehicles aren't green or are green?
which is that.
EVs, electrical vehicles.
Well, electrical vehicles and internal combustion engines, when you put them side by side, in effect, they're identical. They're 100% made with oil. The tires, the wires, the insulation, everything is made with oil. The only difference is the EV has a battery, so it doesn't use gasoline. But gasoline is one of the 6,000 products that come from oil. But if you want to get rid of oil, who's going to make the other 5,999 products?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So uh, uh, my point, you think that renewable energy don't solve the problem,
Renewable electricity.
but do you believe or do you insist that they must be extinguished?
No, there's a place for everything. Um, there's no silver bullet answer. You're going to have wind turbines, but to say that wind turbines is going to replace fossil fuels, no,
No.
no. It's just like EVs. You don't want to mandate it. There is a use for EVs, and if people want an EV, let them make the personal choice. But to mandate it, I think that is totally wrong.
Yeah, yeah. At the same time, electricity grids depend on fossil fuels to be constructed to use.
Correct,
So
correct.
if you increase these lines, these electricity lines, you will increase fossil fuel consumption at the same time.
When you think about it, all the green solutions are oil-based solutions. I mean, wind turbines, solar panels, they're made with fossil fuels. But if you want to get rid of fossil fuels, you get rid of solar panels, you get rid of wind turbines, you get rid of everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, we basically, right now, we have no backup plan. That's the challenge. And that's the green policies really, like you say, they're clueless. Everybody wants to go green, wind and solar energy. Time out is wind and solar electricity. That's everything it provides. And the thing about it, Armando, everything that needs electricity, from the iPhone, the computer, the defibrillator in the hospital, the X-ray machine, everything that needs electricity is made with fossil fuels.
Yeah, it's
And
a
so
perfect statement. Yeah.
if you get rid of fossil fuels, kiss your iPhone goodbye, kiss this podcast goodbye. you know,
Yeah.
I mean, everything goes away. So yeah, we're a product driven society, and that's the one thing. We've had 200 years to replace oil and been unable to do it. And the mistake has been the fact that people believe that wind and solar energy is going to replace fossil fuel energy, but they do different things. You know, coal is used for power plants. Natural gas is used for power plants. Oil isn't. You say oil is useless. It's black tar. And unless you can, like you say, and there's different types of crude oil. That's why there's different types of refineries. You got, sweet crude and sour crude, which is really depending how much you got to beat it to make it productive. And yeah, like you say, we're a product-driven society. That's the challenge for humanity.
Ro-
And with the 6 billion living in poverty, they haven't jo- they haven't joined the Industrial Revolution. That's a real challenge.
Ronald, we are replacing natural gas in homes and hospitals by electricity as much as possible. They are replacing to be everything, let's see, running based on electricity. You see some vulnerability in these things because when you have natural gas hitting a home and electricity on the other side, you have two different energy sources. But when you have only electricity, is not a future problem, vulnerability problem.
Big problem. Electricity is probably going to be the most valuable commodity on planet Earth real soon, because I think in the next 10 years, electricity loads are supposed to increase by 40 or 50%. We keep adding electrical loads, data centers, et cetera, and charging of EVs, and that electricity's got to come from somewhere. And wind and solar is intermittent electricity. And if you want to run a hospital, you can't expect the surgeon to check the weather report to
Yeah,
see who's going to have electricity the next day. Yeah, you need reliable electricity. So the it's really building two electrical generating systems. You build temporary electricity, wind and solar, but you have to back it up with 100% reliability.
based on natural
And
gas or nuclear.
natural gas, nuclear, coal, there's 400 coal-fired power plants being built around the world, mostly in developing countries. They would love to have electricity, and they'd like to have sanitation and clean water and things we take for granted. But yeah, there's a lot of people just dying from indoor air pollution. They're burning, cow dung and wood, and there's no circulation of air inside their tents. And yeah, it's pretty pathetic on the poverty of the world.
So, two very important points you mentioned. First, that we must survive, let's see, contemplate the different energy source for electricity like wind and solar. At
Right,
the other side, we cannot increase dependence on these two sources because they are more vulnerable than others sources.
right. The recent activity in Venezuela, with the capture of Maduro, it brought a lot of information to hand, because Venezuela has, what, 30 million people, and 90% of them people, they're living in poverty. Venezuela used to be a very wealthy country with a lot of, great future, and Maduro and his powers came in and just changed everything. So it's really sad. In poor countries, millions are dying in poverty every year from indoor air pollution. They're burning wood, charcoal, grass, and cow dung, and they don't have natural gas. They don't have propane. They don't have electricity for cooking and heating. And, from the bacteria and the parasites, in their water and their food, again, because they don't have electricity, they don't have water treatment, they don't have refrigeration.
Yeah.
They're living in a backward country. And, you know, we're obviously against coal, but these places in poverty, there's about, I think, 460 coal power plants under construction in poor developing countries. That's their way to get electricity. That's their way to join the industrial revolution. Um, but the wealthy countries, no, 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 we're going to shut down the coal-fired power plants, and we're going to build more and more, wind and solar. Like, there's no silver bullet answer. And if there was, it would be probably been discovered by now. But no, you need something of everything,
Hmm.
and let the people make the choice. And if it is going to be coal, then you want to basically provide emission controls to maintain. You don't want to pollute the air just for polluting it,
Hmm.
but yeah, you got to take the best of all worlds to enjoy the materialistic society that we've become so accustomed to.
Yeah, yeah, dependent. And you mentioned Venezuela. You see, United States, let's see, doing a big effort to recover the oil production in Venezuela and importing to Texas refinery system because the refinery system of Texas, I suppose.
That's going to be a challenge because I know the president invited all the oil executives to Washington, and I think it was Chevron that mentioned that it's uninvestable, with the politics down there, because I think they've had their assets seized twice,
Mhm.
and they have nothing to say about it. The government says we're taking over, you're out, end of subject. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, it's going to be a real challenge to develop. Hopefully, they'll get a government that will develop it. Because I remember, in my career, when I was working at Fluor and Bechtel, we were building refineries around the world, and I spent a lot of time down in Maracaibo. It was a great place to go because at that time, Venezuela was up and coming with a great future and a big oil powerhouse. And but now I'm not sure I would take a flight down there.
Yeah, yeah. And Texas and Oklahoma and that region, the south part of the country, are the refineries there are more fitted to the heavy oil that Venezuela has.
Yes, yes, they wherever they build a refinery, they have to basically determine where the oil is going to come from that they're going to refine. And if it's going to be the heavy crude, then they'll design the refinery for that. But yeah, you have to know what you have coming in
Hmm.
to adjust to it. So it's going to be a challenge. Like I say, there's we got 50,000 merchant ships in the world. We got 50,000 ships in the world, the merchant ships, and the ships and the airplanes were built with pieces and components made from fossil fuels, not from wind turbines.
Yeah.
And so you got these monster planes, you got these monster ships. Now you got to move them. Wind turbines aren't going to move them, and so you need transportation fuels to move them. So it all circles back. And if you get rid of fossil fuels, you won't be able to build the airplanes. You won't be able to build the ships. You won't be able to move the airplanes. You won't be able to move the ships. The space program is, a fine element of what, can be uh, taken out of the fossil fuels, a special blend. But yeah, everything is really geared toward a materialistic society. And the green policies, like I say, they seem to be clueless to that. Because if
Mhm.
you get rid of fossil fuels, you eliminate shipping. I live here in California. We have three of the largest, of the busiest shipping ports in the world: Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Oakland up in
Big
north.
ones.
And there's, ships coming in all over the world, bringing products from across the country, across the world, and then we're trucking it to the rest of the country. Well, if you get rid of fossil fuels, you're going to get rid of those ships. We'll be back to the sailing ships. and
Yeah, yeah,
they'll come in, once every couple of months.
yeah. You mentioned Venezuela and in the geopolitics vision, going to Iran, to Iranian problem that nowadays Hormuz Canal, and so the United States are still very dependent on oil coming from that region.
We'll take it from anywhere we can get it because, like I say, it's not here. We have the demand for the products. We have the demand for the transportation fuels. Like I say, California, we're consuming 13 million gallons of just of aviation fuel,
Wow.
and we're consuming about 40 million gallons of gasoline every day. And that fuel's got to come from somewhere. And
Where?
if we can't make it here, because especially in California, we're an energy island. We're separated from the other 49 states by the Sierra Mountains. It's very picturesque, and there's no pipelines over the Sierra Mountains. So, if we're generating or producing oil in the Midwest, can't get it to California unless you send it through the Suez Canal, thousands of miles. And so that's the same thing as it's cheaper to bring it in from other countries than to do it that way. So it's a real challenge. And we have a populous state, the fourth largest economy in the world, and we're basically on the verge of being a security risk for the entire country.
And the United States has a strategic oil reserve, not reserve, storage. Is,
Yes,
is there something strong, big enough to several months?
no, that's only for the military. I
Ah,
mean,
only for
yeah,
minute.
the human population is consuming a lot more. Yeah, it can't support the our way of life.
Oh,
It's a strategic oil reserve, and it's primarily for the military.
and where are located California and several places, maybe
There's several
distributed in the
places.
country. Yeah, of course,
Yes,
strategically distributed. Yeah,
exactly.
interesting.
Because like here in California, we're consuming 13 million gallons of aviation fuel a day, and that fuel has always been made in California because there's no pipelines to get it from another refinery in the Midwest here. And with refineries closing here in California, the fuel's got to come from somewhere.
Sure.
And the scary thing is the fact that there's about 180 new refineries being built throughout the world, from Africa and Asia and the
China.
Middle East. China, yeah, China's part of Asia. And yeah, it's kind of scary that those refineries might be running our military airports. If we can't provide the fuel to the military airports, somebody's going to provide it,
Wow.
or the military airports are closed. And that's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's a real challenge, and that's why the green policies, like I say, they're clueless as to how to sustain life as we know it.
But green is still very small part of the game. I do not suppose that are big, let's say, influence of green in the total energy.
Right.
Of course, considering oil as a product.
Well, when you talk about green, way back when, hundreds of decades ago, we refineries were really polluting, but now there's a lot of pollution controls, and so you're trying to minimize the pollution to maintain the lifestyle. And you know, you have to. It's a give and take. If you want the lifestyle, you take some emissions, and if you don't want the any emissions, then you got to change your lifestyle. And people haven't fessed up to that one yet because you know it's really not a problem of the supply, the oil. It's a problem that the product demand keeps increasing. If you eliminate the products, you'll eliminate the need for the supply. There's no need for oil if you eliminate the products. So like a restaurant, if they serve bad food, you stop going to the restaurant. Well, if you stop using the products, there'd be no need for refineries. But who's going to come to the table and say, we're going to close the hospitals, we're going to close the airports, We're going to close the shopping centers. We're going to stop using the products. That'll get rid of oil, but it'll also get us back to the 1800s.
Yeah. Yeah, we
You
had
see it? Yep.
a very short problem
Yep.
with connection, but it's okay. Okay, but let me go to my last question for you. So,
Okay.
who will vote for the next president of the United States? The elites or the normal people? Because if the elites will vote, we cannot change these things here.
What I would like to do, and I've written several articles with a lot of questions. A lot of people running for office, a lot of people here in the United States running for mayor, for governor, ultimately for president. And I don't want to embarrass these people. I just want to know what their energy literacy is. And if they're, the elites sticking to a green policy, explain how are you going to keep hospitals open? How are you going to keep airports open? And just to get into some communications, because everybody keeps talking about, this person is winning against big oil. Well, what does that mean? I mean, winning against big oil could be the detriment of society unless
Yeah,
you have a backup plan. And so, really, it's how we're going to maintain our life as we have it.
yeah, yeah. That's a
Like I
good
say,
question.
hospitals, airports, shopping centers, um, the medical industry. I mean, all the medications.
Military systems.
The military can't exist without oil.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's kind of like we're a materialistic society, and I would like to know their energy wisdom. How are we going to maintain this materialistic society? And more importantly, we've been spending trillions of dollars. I think right now there's 340,000 wind turbines throughout the world. All that money could have been spent trying to bring people out of poverty, which would save a lot of lives because, we're losing a lot of people every year. I think, what was the number? There's kind of like I'm not sure how many it is, but it's the millions of people dying in poverty because they don't have the lifestyle we have.
oh,
But instead, the elites are spending trillions of dollars on wind and solar, but that generates electricity. It's doing nothing for the people in poverty.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Very, very good, very good. And please, people, help me to increase the list of statements of Ronald for the next time.
Very good.
Thank you so
But the
much.
main thing
Was
is we got to stimulate conversations.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
That's
I've said, I've told you before, I'm 100% in favor of getting rid of oil if there's a backup plan.
yeah, replacements. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Was a great pleasure.
Armando, have a great day.
You too.